Hey guys, Teresa Barber with Sippie Couture. Welcome to my channel and thanks so much for watching. Today we're going to show you how we worked on this Hydro Sport tumbler. We got a nice little rainbow swirl on here with some opal glitter. Two of my favorite glitters from Mr. Nola Glitter were used over in this one. It just comes out so pretty. So let's go ahead and get started on this. And real quick, I'll tell you about the giveaway. When we get to 10,000 subscribers, we're going to go ahead and do a really big giveaway and give away a Cricut Explorer Air 2. Some tumblers, turners, glitter, epoxy, gift cards, a ton of good stuff. So please subscribe, head on over to Sippie Couture Community Facebook group, find that post and just like it so that you can enter to be into the drawing. So let's get started and I hope you like this, guys. As always, let me know if you have any questions. All right, this tumbler spray painted white. It's a Hydro Sport from Hog. This is my second attempt to paint this. Hopefully we can do it. I can't get these colors to go right. It just, I don't know. It's usually super easy for me, but for some reason with having to use all these colors throws me off. I usually just do purple, not purple, I do pink, blue, and yellow. And that's how I get my other colors of the rainbow. But for this one, I have to each color has to be super bold, and I'm telling you, since I don't do it that way normally, I do each color, I kind of make my colors blend to do the next one. It's throwing me off. Like having to do each color is throwing me off. It's so weird. But they insisted on a bold rainbow, so we're going to do a bold rainbow. So I'm just doing everything on an angle. Not blending anything yet. I'll worry about that in a little bit. I also usually do this when my turner is spinning, but to try to get a little more control and have this come out where I can space it and kind of adjust, I have it still. I'm going about 2 paintbrushes width thick. And I don't quite know the size of my paintbrushes. Go purple. Actually, can't believe I'm struggling with this much today. I usually knock these out so quick. As long as this isn't like a cursed tumbler, because I also haven't, it's my second attempt with this one. All right, so then let's do blue. And then I need to do yellow. I mean green. Oh, my spacing worked out. All right, my paintbrush is funky for this next color. I was doing this as a normal tutorial, and when I started to struggle, I canceled the video. I turned it off. So now I'm like, let me see if I could just save this and help you guys. All right, so let's turn it on now. And go again over every color. My orange. My red. I have too many paintbrushes in my hand. I feel like such a crazy person trying to do this right now. It's weird. It's weird how you can do something a lot and you knock it out. And then there's a time where you just struggle with it. Like you just can't get it for anything. It's really weird. And, oh, I don't want them to touch. Lay them down. This is going to get some Magnolia Opal over it. Magnolia Opal is like this ultra fine glitter that you can do tack it method, and it really helps to make all of your, especially ombres, just combine really pretty. So I'm excited to put that over this. And then let's check out this green. All right, so now we're gonna start blending. I have my yellow. I'm gonna use that to make orange. And I'm just putting them in the middle, just kind of using my paintbrushes on both sides to get a really soft blend of this. Come on. To get a really soft blend. So you see how that ombre really goes soft. And then we'll use our orange paintbrush. We'll put that aside. We're going to use our orange paintbrush to do the orange and red. So what you'll do is touch up the top part of your orange and then dip into your red. Pull that paint on an angle and just blend that line. So put that aside, we're done with that one. Next one is red. So we're going to use our red paintbrush and touch up inside that red, make sure it stays bold first. And then we're going to pull our purple together and combine that right on that line. I don't like this red. I don't think y'all are surprised by me saying that, are you? I don't like red. All right, I'm going to get a little more purple. I need that to be a little bolder. Make sure that goes right there. Definitely do not touch this purple into your red. Be super careful. And then we're going to go up to the blue and combine it with the blue. Not worried about this being a bold line right here. The more you take your paintbrush, kind of blend it, you'll soften out some of those super harsh lines and you'll get a softer blend, a softer ombre with that paintbrush. So take that, make sure it goes soft. And then we're gonna grab our blue paintbrush next. We'll use that to do our green. So touch up any spots you have to with your blue paintbrush. That blue dries quick. And then we're gonna blend in this green line. So just go across that line, up and down it, till you get kind of that streak where it goes away. And then the last one, we'll take our green paintbrush, do the same thing, fill in this green right here, and then combine that in the yellow. At this point, if this yellow is dry, I'll dip into the yellow, kind of help soften it. Make sure I still get a really nice transition. And that's actually what I'll do, because I can see some spots, since I put that on first, it's starting to dry. So I'll take that yellow. That will also allow me to kind of pull that color over a little more and still get a nice blend without tapping into that orange. Okay. This is bold. Like, hopefully this achieves what they want, because they wanted bold rainbow, and this is these are all your colors. All right, let this dry completely, and then we'll be able to go on with tack it. This has to dry really, really good. If you have any puddles of acrylic paint that are kind of pulled up, you know, like thick strips of it, what will happen is that once you get your tack it on, it'll dry over that paint. When you go to varnish our glitter in, it won't go well. You'll have a big old glob that you just smear everywhere. So give this time, let this dry completely before we go on to our next step. All right, for this next part, we can either use tack it over and over or foiling glue. I'm going to use foiling glue because this is empty and the lid is busted, and if I go to apply any pressure on this, it's going to blow up. I need to get more. I need to get more. So we're going with the foiling glue, and just from personal experience, I'm pretty sure that that it's the same thing. Like, I'm fairly confident that it is the same thing. Foiling glue seems a little stronger to me. It definitely grabs onto foils a lot better than tack it, but they both do the exact same thing. They both, you brush them both on, they dry to a tacky consistency, they go on white and kind of go to like a clearish whenever they're ready. So I don't really see a difference in using either one. So let me do a little more around here. I want to make sure I get this top. I'm not going any past this right here because that's all going to be trimmed off. But I do want to make sure that this has a nice opal around it. This tack it method for this doesn't have to be perfect. If you would rather just put Magnolia opal into your epoxy and do a coat that way, you definitely can. I just like the way this comes out. So, and it's fun. So I go around a few times and then I go up and down to make sure I get everywhere. If this starts to grab before I'm ready, then what I will do is put down I'll dip this in paint, water, goodness. Dip my paintbrush in water, and that will buy me a little more time. What I don't want to happen is to try to wipe this when it's tacky and starting to pull up, because what you will do is you'll pull up some of that paint. Maybe like I did right here. But the ink can go there, so we're not gonna worry about that. All right, put my lid on my foiling glue. Let me put that paintbrush in water, because when this stuff dries, if tack-it or foiling glue dries on a paintbrush, it is not fun to get out. All right, so hit this with the heat gun, kind of encourage it to speed up a little. And then we're gonna take our Magnolia Opal, sprinkle it on, then varnish it in. Varnish? Hope I'm saying that right. All right, so sprinkle that. This is gonna be amazing. Watch this, guys. Y'all are gonna love it. If you have not used Magnolia Opal, you gotta check it out. It is gorgeous on every single color. What if I have something here I can show you? It's just crazy. You can definitely use it as a cheek glitter. It'll just give like a little opal to everything. All right, so make sure this is coated. I started looking around on my Tumbler shelf, like to show you guys. Knock off the extra. And I keep everything that falls off of here. This glitter does not go to waste. I keep all of this stuff and I just put it back into my shaker. It doesn't get messed up laying on this tack-it. What happens when you're doing this step is that all you're doing is you're laying down your glitter. You're not trying to rub it off your tumbler. You're not going super aggressive. You're just taking your fingers and just laying it down. Just swipe off the extra and lay it down. So for that. You keep going around it. And like I said, this is just a base coat, so I'm not worried about the coverage on here. I want it to be decent, but if there's like a spot missing, you won't be able to see over the next glitter that's going on. You won't be able to see through it, I mean. Look how pretty that purple and blue goes. And even some of the streaks that were in the blue, we're not worried about that either, because like I said, the next bit, we're putting on Louisiana lace next. And that has so much color that it throws off. It goes really good to mask anything under your glitters. All right, so now I'm gonna go a little more aggressive. Palm of my hand. Go all the way around and really just wipe it off. Make sure that's all in here. We need to get to, hold on, I need a paintbrush. Need a dry paintbrush. Need to get to this top part because I don't want all that extra right here. So we're going to dust this off. I probably should have done a little better right here because I'm missing a spot, but we won't be able to see that. It'll be completely hidden with this next coat. All right, let's clean up this mess. Look at that. That's crazy. It's so pretty. All right, let's go ahead and put this back. I'm going to hit this with some clear spray paint. Every once in a while I find that my epoxy doesn't like jumping on to my, my tack-it method. Every once in a while it'll repel. I don't know what I do wrong, but just as a precaution, I get some clear spray paint and just hit this super light just to seal in this glitter. I have my Speed Dry Epoxy mixed up and I absolutely love this stuff. I am in New Orleans, so for my climate, this stuff is cured to the touch, dry to the touch in 2 hours, and I can sand it in like 3, like sand and put another coat of epoxy. So it is a fast setting epoxy. The work time is about 15 minutes of open work time. I do like to add heat to my epoxy when I'm mixing it and also applying it to my tumbler. So depending on the method you use to mix and apply, that time could change. So just keep that in mind when you're working with any fast setting epoxy, but Speed Dry is my absolute favorite. It loves heat, so I'm never afraid of having to put too much heat to get it to thin out. The bubbles are really good at popping on their own. The more you kind of massage it through your tumbler and spread that out, I feel like the easier the bubbles pop, so it's really good. And then I'm going to bring this all the way up at the top. You don't want to use too much heat with that heat gun if you did not seal in that glitter, because the heat can kind of loosen up the glue and kind of cause that to slide around. I am going to get my heat gun though and go up at the top and make sure that this is all filled in. I need my glitter to really stick to this inside part, so having that really done in epoxy will help. I'm not worried about any bumps in this epoxy since I'm using kind of a thicker glitter. If you're going with a fine glitter, then worry about your epoxy application. Make sure it's streak free. But if you're going with a chunky glitter, we're going to end up laying that down with parchment paper, so you really don't have to worry about any bumps in it. And I did put on a generous amount of epoxy from here. I want to make sure that it kind of soaks in this glitter and it lays down really nice. So I'm going to let this sit for a minute, let it spin and do its thing, and then we'll drop this glitter on here. We're going to go ahead and get our glitter dumped on here. This is Louisiana Lace from Mr. Knowles Glitter. It's a really pretty opal mix, but it has some chunks in it that give such a great shine. So get this right on top. And this is where I was saying it just goes great to cover in all those colors. Any type of streaks that were in here, it's perfect for that. All right, knock that off. And then make sure everything's touched up and everything's coated really good. Make sure you get some around this top part too. All right, since we used a lot of epoxy on here, we're not gonna get our parchment paper and smash this all down right now. We're gonna let this spin for a little bit. That way we're not removing any glitter and epoxy whenever we're knocking this off. I need to tap everything off. All right. We can save all this. I'll transfer it later. We're going to let this spin, and then we'll go through and kind of lay this down with parchment paper. All right, this has been spinning for a bit. Like I said, just enough time to kind of get it to settle where I know I can push this down without all of that epoxy kind of going on here. And I also set some other cups. So I have every other color in the world on me too. All right, so push this in. When you're pushing your parchment paper down, if you have any areas on your parchment paper with glitter stuck to it, what happened was that spot had too much epoxy. Your epoxy soaked through the glitter, and when you pressed it down, you removed some of that glitter. Not a big deal, guys. Like, don't sweat over that. Just take your glitter and drop it back down and fill in the spot that went bald. And then also, really quick, I know I said I use Louisiana Lace, and now I have glitters everywhere. I'm not sure which one I grabbed. I did have another mix, Alibi and Eliza Jane, that I use for some. It's really, really similar to Louisiana Lace, so you can use either one. Eliza Jane is out of stock at the moment. It is super hard to come by, so when it does get in stock, y'all grab it, because if not, I'm buying it all. But this is Alibi and Eliza Jane, so not sure which one I use, but like I said, it's really close to Louisiana Lace. They're interchangeable. Like, I think that if these weren't labeled, I may pause for a moment to figure out which one is which. So use whichever one you want. Louisiana Lace, like I said, same thing, just it's already mixed for you, so might as well just get Louisiana Lace. So, all right, get this to sit. Let this to kind of go and spin for a few hours, and then we will get to it with another layer of epoxy. All right, we have our epoxy mixed up. Again, this is speed dry, and we're going right over this. I did take this outside and sprayed it super quick with clear spray paint. I always do that just to make sure my glitters don't go flying around. Usually with the epoxy method, they get stuck in place pretty good, but with these chunky ones, every once in a while they'll want to lift up even after you kind of lay it down. And I just want to be sure that doesn't happen. Then I also need to get a better option for turning these jugs because the foam that it's on right now is a little wobbly and it has me nervous. So I'm just going to go a thin coat. I want to make sure it doesn't pool up on the bottom and create any bubbles or kind of little muffin right there. And then we're going to go to the top and we're going to put this around here and then into that groove. The next part of this will be cleaning up that edge. So we're going to work this in here, drop a little extra, that way it's sealed up real good. And then I'll get my heat gun also to help move this epoxy around and make it a bit easier to pop these any bubbles that want to get trapped in here. I have kids that are going to be running in off the bus soon, so I'm trying to get this done for you guys. Alright, I have a good bit of heat in there because I want this to flow around. That way these bubbles will be a lot easier to pop. I feel like with a little extra epoxy that I put on here, with it being a thicker glitter, if I don't get a little aggressive getting that to move around, they're just going to sit on top. So we'll get our torch, pop all these bubbles, let this sit for a few hours, and then we'll get to cleaning up the tops and bottom. All right, I've definitely shown this step in a few different videos, but I want to make sure I just cover it for anybody that didn't catch it. This is a cup edging tool from Wicked Shimmer. I have this down to the lowest setting, and I wedged a paring knife between the blade and the lower black piece. What that does is it kind of stabilizes this blade right here whenever I'm turning this in a circle and trimming off the bottom. I tend to push kind of hard. I'm fairly aggressive whenever I'm doing this, and it just makes it easier and stops my blade from wobbling around. So you're just going to push this around in a circle. You can hear it start to hit the metal, and that's when you know you cut all the way through the epoxy. And what this will do is give you a super clean rim around the bottom. This does not compromise the tumbler or the design at all. What we'll do after this is every coat of epoxy will make sure that it seals it all back up, so it won't be left open. All right, and pop this off. This part usually comes just right off, so hopefully I'm getting to it in time. I had to have it sit overnight. Usually it comes off pretty easily with this sitting for a minute. And the thicker epoxy might be a little more elbow grease. So I'll take my knife and I just run it around the bottom, and that will pull it up. All right, after we have all of that cleaned off, we're going around the bottom right here and just making sure all of this is loose. That way when we clean it with acetone, it will be a lot easier to get everything off and cleaned up. If you do the bottom of your tumblers, then you don't have to worry about this step, but I don't. I leave them stainless. So I definitely have to make sure this is cleaned up. So I'm taking my little dry baby wipe and some acetone. I'm going right along that edge. All right, turn this over and then we'll check it one more time. All right, and then we'll switch this over and I'll show you how to clean up the top. I have this piece of electrical tape around here, so I'm gonna remove that. Get it off me. And then I'm gonna angle this down and just cut along there. I usually have the tip of my X-Acto knife right against the tumbler, and that will give me kind of a really good angle to go on. My X-Acto knife is a little dull, but I don't think I have any more blades, so we'll have to just fight with it for a minute. Let me see if I can go with this. This one's super dull. Yeah, can't risk it with that one. It'll peel off too much. All right, so angle that. Cut around in that circle. Then we're going to go ahead and clean that top part off. We're not going to do any sanding in this step because with it being a chunky glitter, if I were to sand it right now, I will run the risk of compromising that glitter and dulling it or just removing it, and it won't be good. It won't look pretty. So we'll do another coat before we do any type of sanding. All right, we have this cleaned. We're going to tape this top piece off, and then we will go on with more epoxy. Time to get this decal on. I went ahead and sanded the tumbler. That way everything is clean and I can just go ahead and get the final coats of everything on here. So what I do for these Hydro Sports or any twist bottle lid is I put the lid on, twist top cup. Sorry guys. I put the lid on and I make sure it's about as tight as I would tighten it to drink out of it. And then we go ahead and line up where we're gonna have this decal going. So what I like to do is that whenever you drink out of it, this side faces you, right? It opens, this side faces you. So I always put it on the outside where it's facing out. In this case, it will land on this yellow part. So I have my my transfer tape that I use a lot. I just keep reusing this stuff. A lot of times I use, well, more than half the time I should say, I use clear contact paper for transfer paper. I use that stuff for everything. I use a clear contact paper, but since I cut this white a little thicker on a heavier setting, I want to make sure that the back of this paper doesn't get stuck on the writing. Guys, I can't think today. I'm really sorry. All right, so then I have to put it up like this. I have to stand this up, that way I can see it right. So I line this up, make sure it's going straight up, then just flatten that on. I like to build my offsets off of the tumbler. There's times where I find that when on the tumbler. Goodness, see guys? I build my offsets on the tumbler. There's a lot of times I find that when I build it off the tumbler, I end up with bubbles in between the layers of vinyl, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong, guys. I cannot figure it out, but building it on the tumbler gives me a lot less bubbles. So that's how I like to do it. And then to remove you're going to keep your transfer tape very close to your decal. That way you're not kind of lifting and pulling and running the risk of lifting up your vinyl or allowing air to get inside of it. So take that, and then we will do the top part. Take that so I can reset it all nice. If you're reusing transfer tape, be a little cautious with chrome or mirrored vinyls, because every once in a while, as that sticky starts to wear off, you can leave kind of prints of the sticky on the vinyl. So just be careful of that. I know I cut this one way too deep, but I forgot to switch my setting. And this is where a good transfer tape really helps. This is the reason why I'm not using that other one, like I said. All right, lay this sideways and just put it on. Smush that in. And then I don't seal this. I make sure I have my squeegee. I make sure everything's on super, super tight. Leave your transfer tape on when you do this so you're not scratching your vinyl. Make sure that's on really, really good. And then we're gonna go ahead and do the last coats possibly of epoxy. I don't like doing just one coat over this. Just because I want this vinyl to last a really long time. I want this cup to last a really long time. And I always feel safer with 2 coats of epoxy over my decal. So we're gonna go ahead and get this on. If it ends up being a super, super thick coat, and you can tell if it is. If it ends up being a super thick coat, then maybe. If it was like just mine. But for anyone else, we wanna make sure that this is really, really on there. I don't know where my little pieces are to put this back. Okay. Good enough. All right, let's get epoxy. Getting ready for this last coat of epoxy, what we definitely want to do is take our electrical tape or painter's tape, whatever you use, and tape off the top of this tumbler again. We're going to make sure that these last coats go on as flawless as we can, and it's set up for that final coat. What is kind of annoying is when you forget to tape this off and your epoxy goes over this top and sticks, because then you have to find a clean way to cut it. Putting on your electrical tape, all you have to do is just add a tiny bit of heat and everything will pop right off of it. And it will loosen up the epoxy that kind of gets close to here, and you can peel off that tape and the epoxy will come off too. So it's really great. All right, get this on, mix up epoxy, and then we'll be ready for the last coats. Okay, second to last coat of epoxy on this one. I'll probably just film this and then go back and do the other coat of epoxy kind of on my own time, just so I can get this out for you guys. But we're gonna go and put this on. I want most of the epoxy to go over the name. So encourage that to get out. And I'm going to use my heat gun to spread this. Whenever I'm doing the chunky epoxy, I like to go with a little, chunky glitter, I like to go with a little less epoxy. That way I know that I can spread it out and really work the bubbles through, because they will just magnify over this, the chunky glitter, especially being that opal. And the rest of everything in there. Focus on the name. And then we'll use our heat gun to help spread the rest of this out. Not a ton of heat. You don't have to go super aggressive with it, just enough to get this epoxy moving around so we can spread it. At this point, we also want to make sure this bottom is sealed back up, so go around the bottom like this. Make sure it goes around the top. And we have all that cleaned up nice. Make sure this whole name is in. And then I'll grab my torch and we'll pop bubbles. I had to find it. So running this through and just popping all these bubbles, make sure this top is sealed in.
Alright guys, so like I said, this I did end up putting a second coat over this name. I just didn't do it on this video. But it is on there and everything's sealed up super nice. The edges are clean, everything came out crisp. And then from there we just wash with Dawn dish soap and give it out to the customer. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. As always, let me know if you have any questions. Please subscribe to this channel and find us over on Sippie Couture Community Facebook group where we have live coupon codes, giveaways, and a bunch of other fun stuff. So thanks again for watching guys, and we'll see you soon.
There's no way this could be the last one. So let this sit, make sure our bottom is done. Smooth out your epoxy at the bottom. Just make sure it's sealed up and you won't have any big globs. And then we'll be back with another coat.